My name is Jennifer, and I am 23 years old. Today, I want to share a story about a girl named Rema who recently moved into our apartment building. She was about my age and had a warm, confident personality that made a strong impression on everyone around her. She seemed polite, responsible, and very well organized. My mother admired her greatly. She would often say to me, "Look at Rema. She is so responsible and disciplined. You should learn something from her. Try to be more like her." At first, I simply rolled my eyes and ignored these comments. However, as time passed, hearing Rema's name again and again started to bother me. I did not hate her, and in fact, I barely knew her, but constantly being compared to her made me feel uncomfortable and even a little angry. 3 months passed after Rema moved into our building. One afternoon, my mother told me some surprising news. She said that Rema's boyfriend had proposed to her and that she would be getting married the following month. I was completely shocked. I looked at my mother in disbelief and asked, "What? Already? How old is she?" My mother calmly replied that Rema was 24 years old. I could hardly believe it. To me, she seemed far too young to get married. The news stayed in my mind for days. 2 weeks later, Rema's wedding took place. She wore a beautiful white dress and looked truly happy on her special day. Although I did not talk to her much, I still wished her well and hoped that her new life would bring her joy and happiness. She seemed excited about her future, and everything appeared perfect. But just 2 days after the wedding, something unexpected happened that changed everything. That evening, I returned home from work as usual. When I opened the door to our apartment, I was shocked by what I saw. Rema was sitting on our couch in the living room. I stopped suddenly, unable to move. Her face looked pale, and her eyes were red and swollen. It was clear that she had been crying for a long time. My mother was sitting beside her, and she was crying as well. Next to them sat Rema's mother, gently holding my mother's hand for support. Soon, other people from the apartment building began to gather around, whispering quietly. The news had spread quickly, and everyone could feel that something terrible had happened. On the third day after her wedding, the new bride had returned to her mother's home. When my mother looked up and saw me standing at the door, her eyes were filled with tears. In a quiet but serious voice, she said, "Go to your room." I silently nodded. I did not ask any questions or try to understand what was happening. I simply turned around and walked slowly down the hallway. The atmosphere in the house felt heavy and tense. Soon, everyone in the building wanted to know what had happened. People gathered around Rema, each with their own opinions and advice. Some told her what she should have done, while others explained what she should not have done. They spoke about right and wrong, blaming her actions and suggesting solutions, but no one explained anything to me. Perhaps they believed I was too young to understand such serious matters, or maybe they thought it was not my place to know. Because of this, I remained silent and kept my thoughts to myself. One evening, while sitting quietly in my room, I overheard my parents talking. My door was slightly open, and their voices reached me clearly. My mother was speaking to my father in a worried tone. She said, "Tomorrow, you need to go to Rema's in-laws' house. Talk to them and ask them to take her back. Mistakes happen in every relationship. There must be some solution. A marriage cannot simply end like this." My father listened carefully and agreed with her. He promised that he would visit them the next day. The following morning, my parents left the house. I stayed at home, feeling anxious and restless. Rema was upstairs with her brother, but I did not have the courage to go and speak with her. I was too afraid to ask what had gone wrong in her marriage. Instead, I remained downstairs, waiting quietly and hoping that my parents would return with good news. By evening, they finally came back. I was sitting on the couch when the door opened. I looked up and saw Rema's mother entering the house, holding a white bed sheet tightly in her hands. Her face showed deep anger and frustration. She began shouting loudly at Rema, her voice filled with pain and disappointment. Then she said something so harsh that I could never forget it. She cried out, "It would have been better if girls like Rema had never been born. I should never have had a daughter. It would have been better if you had died with your father." Hearing these cruel words made my heart stop. I felt shocked and unable to believe what I had just heard. The room fell into a heavy silence. At that moment, my mother looked at me and gently said, "Take Rema upstairs." I quietly nodded, stood up, and walked toward Rema. With care and kindness, I held her arm and slowly guided her toward the stairs, feeling the deep sadness that surrounded her. At that moment, I still did not know what had caused all this pain and confusion. No one had explained anything to me. The situation became even more disturbing when Rema's mother did not stop with harsh words. In a sudden burst of anger, she raised her hand and slapped Rema across the face. The sound echoed in the room. Rema did not try to protect herself or argue back. She simply stood there, tears falling from her eyes, silently accepting the humiliation. Seeing this, my mother quickly stepped between them to stop the situation from becoming worse. She calmly told me to take Rema downstairs and said that she would handle Rema's mother herself. I gently guided Rema back downstairs and helped her sit on the couch. I brought her a glass of water and asked softly if she was all right. She did not respond. She kept her eyes fixed on the floor, and I could see that her hands were trembling. Her silence made me even more worried. After waiting for a few minutes, I gathered the courage to ask again. This time, I asked her if she could tell me what had happened. Slowly, Rema lifted her eyes and looked at me. In a weak and broken voice, she said, "I didn't bleed. I didn't understand." I was confused by her words and replied, "What?" I truly had no idea what she meant. She seemed ready to explain further, but before she could say anything more, my mother entered the room. She walked toward us and told Rema to return to her own house. I felt frustrated and upset because I still did not understand the truth behind everything. 6 months later, Rema and her husband were officially divorced. That was how her marriage ended. But there was one important detail that explained everything. Rema's in-laws had thrown her out for a single reason: they believed she was not a virgin. That was considered her crime. That was seen as her shame. According to them, losing virginity before marriage was an unforgivable mistake. People around us whispered cruel judgments. Some said, her father died when she was young, so this was expected. Others blamed her education, saying, "This is what happens when you send girls to college. This is what happens when you give them freedom." Their words were filled with blame rather than understanding. Even in modern societies, including places like America, there are still many ways in which people judge a woman's purity. In some communities, the so-called white bed sheet test still exists. If a bride does not bleed on her wedding night, she is considered impure. She fails the test. She does not receive acceptance or respect. Instead, she is labeled, judged, and often rejected. The focus is not on her character, her kindness, or her humanity, but only on a physical expectation. However, the real question was never whether Rama was a virgin or not. The deeper question was about the idea of purity itself, and who has the right to define it. Society often takes this role, creating rules and expectations that people are forced to follow. Throughout our lives, we try to become what others expect us to be: a good daughter, a good sister, a good wife, a good friend, or a good partner. We spend so much time trying to fit into these roles that we sometimes forget something far more important. Relationships may come and go, and people may enter and leave our lives, but before anything else, we must learn to be good human beings, kind, understanding, and compassionate toward one another. We tried very hard to make everyone around us happy, but in the end, no one was truly satisfied, not our families, not our partners, not the people we loved, and not even society. It made me realize how fragile a person's reputation can be. Sometimes, just one mistake or one misunderstanding is enough to destroy everything you have worked so hard to build. People are quick to judge, quick to blame, and slow to understand. But through all of this, I learned an important lesson. Rama was never my rival or someone to compare myself with, she became my friend. She showed me that other people's opinions can never truly define who you are. Only you have the power to decide your character and your worth. I felt proud of Rama because she chose to stand up for herself during a very difficult time. She showed courage when the whole world seemed to be judging her. Many people do not understand that there are several medical reasons why some women do not bleed on their wedding night, and none of these reasons have anything to do with a woman's values, dignity, or character. What happened to her was not a reflection of who she truly was, but a result of ignorance and social pressure. Her story taught me the importance of seeking truth before forming opinions about others. So before judging someone, it is important to pause, understand the facts, and show compassion. Every person deserves respect and understanding, not quick judgment. If this story made you think or touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.